Fellas, I feel like recently we've been having a lot of debates over who's the best fighter, who's the worst fighter, why do we dislike this fighter, why don't we like this fighter. So today, I'm doing a video that's pretty much impossible to argue with or debate with, so if any of you argue in the comments, you're getting banned permanently off YouTube. But anyway, UFC Nicest Mother Effer, aka the nicest fighter in the UFC. These are just fighters that are pretty much allergic to trash talk around the UFC. Different weight classes, different eras, but these are just some fighters that pretty much impossible, you know, to create beef with. So we're going to be going over a few here. Let me know if I missed any like significant fighters that are usually nice, but we're going in there with the first fighter, which for me, it's got to be kind of the blueprint of nice fighters. It's Stephen Thompson. I'm just going to get him out of the way because he's the obvious one, right? Stephen Thompson. A lot of people think he's playing a character. People think he's kind of playing a nice guy character because he's literally that nice, but I don't think he's ever trash talked in his life. I mean, there's obviously that viral clip of him and Tyrone Woodley at it was like a digital face-to-face where Woodley's, you know, trying to kind of trash talk him, and then Stephen Thompson, you know, kind of makes Woodley laugh, makes him crack because the guy's just too nice. Like, it's pretty, you can't trash talk this guy. You can't trash talk him. He's pretty much impossible to trash talk. He never says any bad things about anyone. The worst thing he's ever said is probably when he's streaming and playing video games online to, you know, when he's streaming and that, but we can excuse him for that. But in the octagon, or not in the octagon, but in a press conference, he's one of the nicest guys ever. Always smiling, helping people mid-fight. I mean, obviously going to see Kevin Holland after the fight, he's done that to other opponents as well. The guy's just immune to hate. You can't hate Stephen Thompson. He's the nicest guy. The only guy that I've ever seen really kind of try and disrespect and trash talk Stephen Thompson, besides maybe the one time Woodley did it, it was Colby Covington. But Colby Covington's like a gun and you just shoot it and you fire out insults, so you can kind of excuse Covington. But other than that, Stephen Thompson, the guy's you can't hate the guy. Rarely ever gets disrespect from his opponents. The worst disrespect this guy's ever got is Michael Piero, or Michel Pereira, or however you want to say it. I don't care about the guy's name. That guy, missing weight. Missing weight against Stephen Thompson is one thing you don't want to do because he's just not going to fight. That's kind of what lost him a few fans. People were kind of irritated at the fact that he pulled out of the fight at UFC 291. Obviously, he had every right to do so. His opponent couldn't make weight. But no, he's a killer in the octagon. He's one of the most dangerous finishers and well, maybe not finishers, but dangerous fighters, and one of the best strikers in the UFC. But he's one of the nicest outside the octagon. So Stephen Thompson, for me, I'm going to have to put him in there, get him out of the way, because everyone knows he's coming, right? He's the nicest guy in the UFC. Next fighter, Max Holloway. The guy sounds like a 12-year-old, I'm going to be honest. But Max Holloway, he's one of the nicest fighters in the UFC. This guy's got so many fans. I feel like a lot of the fans, well, maybe not a lot of the fans, but a lot of this guy's audience is from his highlight reels, because obviously the fight with Calvin Kattar, I feel like he's kind of the highlight reel of the featherweight division. But no, Max Holloway, for me, you've got to put him in there in the nicest fighters. When has this guy ever trash talked? He said a few things to Khabib, a few things to Volkanovski. Apart from that, the guy never really says anything bad. But as a fighter, he's an absolute killer. He's the type of guy to break your face and apologise after. I mean, we literally saw the fight with Brian Ortega, how he was teaching him to block mid-fight. I mean, if it doesn't get any nicer than that, didn't go for a cheap shot or anything. And I'm glad that the Korean Zombie, he got knocked. I'm not glad that he got knocked out, but I'm glad if he was to get knocked out on his last fight by anyone, I'm glad it was by Max Holloway, because there's a lot of respect between Holloway. I mean, he literally delivered the gloves back to the Korean Zombie after they got stolen. So Max Holloway, nicest featherweight out there. Again, I'm going to say this a lot to a lot of fighters, but he rarely ever trash talks. Even McGregor, Prime McGregor, the guy that was going for everyone, didn't even really insult Max Holloway in his build-up because he respected him. Yeah, he's kind of just I don't know, man. He just gives... He's a dangerous fighter. He's an absolute killer in the octagon, but when it comes to press conferences and trash talk, I can't see this guy trash talking anyone anytime soon. So I'm going with Max Holloway. Next fighter, Tom Aspinall. He's a great guy. I'd love to fight him. He's a good guy. John Jones. I look up to John Jones, one of my favourite fighters in the UFC right now. But trust me, I'm there to break his face. Tom Aspinall. Yeah, this is the only problem with Aspinall being too nice, is the fact that his press conference, I'm pretty sure it's today, with Pavlovich, it's going to be hard to sell a fight just from the press conference alone. Like, imagine you know nothing about the fighters and you're purely going to the press conference. It's just going to be compliments from everywhere. And maybe that's a good thing. He's not the type of guy to fake anyone. I mean, he said it multiple times. Even when Chael Sonnen made the video saying that Tom Aspinall needs to, you know, needs to up his trash talk game. He already said he's not about this clown things. He doesn't really do trash talk. If he doesn't really dislike any fighters. He don't really carry emotion into the octagon. He's just a skillful guy, and that's how he wins fights. He's got the absolute killer instinct, though. You can say he's a nice guy, but he's got a killer instinct. He's finished. I'm pretty sure he's finished every single one of his wins in MMA history. But yeah, it don't matter who the opponent is. You could literally be a steroid user in John Jones with all this bad history, and Aspinall will still find a way to respect you. So I'm going with Tom Aspinall. Nice guy. Even with Marcin Tybura, he was apparently good friends with Marcin Tybura. You know, being a lot, you know, hugging him at the weigh-in and everything, but then obviously in the octagon he had to put him to sleep in front, well, maybe not to sleep, but he had to knock him out in front of the UK crowd. But no, Tom Aspinall, yeah, he's a nice guy, pretty down-to-earth as well. By the way, nice guy doesn't necessarily mean boring as well. Like, a lot of people, they're like, oh, there's not enough trash talk from this person, he's quite boring. Boring is Arnold Allen, if we're talking on the mic. Tom Aspinall is not boring. He's got personality, he's just not the type of... The worst trash talk Tom Aspinall's ever done is against Oscar Willis at the media day. That's the worst trash talk he's ever done, but no, I'm going Tom Aspinall. Nice guy, I'd love to fight him, but yeah. Next fighter, Charles Oliveira. Your favourite fighter's favourite fighter. This guy, if you ask 50% of MMA fans who their favourite fighter is, I can guarantee they're all going to say Charles Oliveira. He's probably one of the most liked fighters in the UFC. I already did a video about this a while ago, one of my bigger videos. But no, Charles Oliveira. The good thing about Oliveira, someone pointed this out in my comments. Whenever Charles Oliveira gets a win, it makes like us feel like we've won as well. Like, it's not like when a fighter wins, it's like, oh, the fighters won, whatever, they got another victory, good for them. But when Oliveira wins, he makes us feel like we win the fight as well. He's kind of got this audience, and I don't even speak Brazilian or Portuguese. A lot of people don't speak it either, but we're still fans of Charles Oliveira. He's just a really nice guy. He respects every opponent as well. So Charles Oliveira, one of the nicest fighters in the UFC, and that's why so many people want to see him win. People wanted him to beat Beneil Dariush, and he's done that. Him versus Islam Makhachev. Listen, I don't mind Islam Makhachev, but I can just say there's going to be so much people rooting Oliveira when it's the Islam Makhachev fight. And it's not only because he's good on the mic, it's also because he's, like I said, I'm noticing a theme here as well. A lot of these you know, quote-unquote nice guys are absolute killers in the octagon, and Charles Oliveira is one of them. One of the best lightweights, and well, I'd say he's the second best lightweight right now besides Islam Makhachev. But yeah, Oliveira, everyone roots for him. Your favourite fighter's favourite fighter. Kind of a human highlight reel, just like Justin Gaethje as well. He's kind of like the human highlight reel. When was the last time he had a decision? Was it the Tony Ferguson fight? It's been a while since he got a decision, but Charles Oliveira, he'd never say a bad thing about anyone. Maybe he said, like, the worst thing he said is like he didn't feel himself against Islam Makhachev. But yeah, Oliveira, funnest fighter in the UFC and definitely one of the nicest. The next fighter, Stipe Miocic. Now, I don't know if he's nice or if we just can't understand anything he's saying, because the guy speaks gibberish. Like, I've tried using Google, you know, not the YouTube kind of captions to help me understand this guy. I still can't understand him. It's gibberish, but I'm pretty sure he's a nice guy. He's a firefighter, and he still is a firefighter, and that's the ironic thing. Ignore the fact that I put firefighter like that. I'm just so used to spelling fighter like that. I know it's F-I-R-E, so just please ignore the spelling mistake. But Stipe, it's kind of ironic that John Jones is kind of this criminal, and then Stipe is this firefighter or a guy that works for the emergency services, and they've somehow matched up against each other. But no, he's a firefighter, got a good job, and he still does it as well. He didn't just do firefighting because he had to. He still does it. He's got all this bread from MMA. He's this huge star, and he's still doing his passion, which is firefighting and saving people. So you got to give him respect to that. Again, he's allergic to trash talk. Like, the only thing you can disrespect him for is his hair, because I'm not sure what was going on with his hairdo when he fought on Ngannou, but that needs to be changed. But anyway, nicest heavyweight alive, up there with people like Aspinall. I've noticed that as well. In the heavyweight division and the light heavyweight division, there's very, like, minimal trash talkers. I don't know why that is. In the lower divisions, there's so many trash talkers, but when it comes to, like, their heavier divisions, there's just so many people that, for some reason, trash talk. But Stipe is not one of them. He just gets on with it. He doesn't really care. He just gets on with it. Oh, you've got a fight booked. Okay, I'll fight him. Don't care if it's Ngannou. I don't care if it's John Jones. Maybe I'll care if it's Pavlovich. But either way, Stipe just gets on with it. Insane fighter. Greatest heavyweight of all time. Up there with Fedor as well. one of the nicest heavyweights in the UFC. And finally, I said there's not many, you know, nice guys in the lower weight classes. Well, Brandon Moreno's the opposite of that. A lot of people think he's annoying because he's that nice. Like, people have gone on and said, you know, he's this nice of a fighter. He's kind of getting annoying now. I can kind of see why, but he's kind of just like a man-child, is Brandon Moreno. Some people find that absolutely disgusting. Some people absolutely hate Brandon Moreno for that. Personally, I did think Pantoja won the fight. I know that's kind of off topic, but Brandon Moreno, he's a babyface. You can't hate him. I guess you can dislike him, but there's no way of hating Brandon Moreno. The worst, I don't even know if he's trash talked before. Maybe he defended himself on the mic against Davison Figueiredo, who doesn't even properly speak English. Assassin baby though, Moreno, again, nice guy. Like, if there's one guy that I wouldn't mind getting knocked out by if I was in the flyweight division, it's this guy. Because if Pantoja was to do it, or Davison Figueiredo were to do it, you know, they'd be, you know, all over the knockout. But when it's Brandon Moreno, he could put you to sleep, and I feel like, I don't know, he's just a really respectful guy. He's a really nice guy. If he was wearing a t-shirt, or if he weren't in the UFC and I just saw him walking down the street, I wouldn't believe him if he said he's over the age of 20. But no, Brandon Moreno, definitely one of the nicest guys in the UFC. But yeah, that's my list for the UFC NMF contenders. Let me know if I missed any fighters. Let me know your thoughts on all the individual fighters, and yeah, thank you for watching.